Hey everybody, Transcend here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another This Week in Tracks, where I take you through all of the tracks that released in the past week in MX bikes, both free and paid, so that you can determine whether or not they are worth the download or worth the purchase. Now, this week is a bit of an oddball week because we did have 8 free tracks and 3 paid tracks. However, we also had the new beta bikes release, so the game plays completely different this week than it did last week, and therefore you're kind of gonna have to take these replays and my reviews with a grain of salt, as the game just simply plays completely different now. So obviously moving forward from now on, all the reviews will be done with the new beta, but for this last week it'll be with the previous ones, so definitely keep that in mind as you're watching these replays. Starting off with the first track that released this week, Baja Acres Baja Brawl 2024 by Huron. Huron always makes killer tracks, and obviously the last Baja Brawl that he made back from 2022 was a cool track, but there were definitely some factors of it that I wasn't a huge fan of, like the lighting. The ruts were just a little bit, I don't know, small, and yeah, I think he definitely this year is an improvement for the track. It's a lot easier to see. I think the ruts hold you a little better, so I'm curious to see how this rides on the new OEMs. However, I definitely would consider this a massive W, especially, I mean, it's a free track from Huron, so what more could you want? HSM SX Test Track by Eagle. This one, the textures on this one are really good. The only thing that I feel like is weird with this one is the scaling, both too big and too small. Like, I feel like the jumps and the triples and like the whoops and the step-on step-offs, they're all like varying in scale. Like the triples seem small, the step-on step-off seems big, and then kind of like the transitions into the corner are almost too much. You know, it's almost like it's too wide. But other than that, I mean, the track itself is beautiful. If you're a new Supercross player, it's fairly easy. So it's pretty easy to spin laps on this and just kind of get used to the motions of going through whoops and doing all that, and utilizing your sit and stand. So all in all, yeah, I mean, this is a solid free Supercross track. Next up, we've got Legend of the National by CP417. This is just an absolutely wide open outdoor track. Not too much of really any skill required to ride this track. It's very beginner friendly. Like I said, it's really wide open. There's a couple decently sized jumps, some good things to practice your whips over and throw it over, but for the most part, man, it's really just a wide open track that you can just spin laps on. So kind of like what I've said in previous episodes, if I was a new player that was just kind of just learning the ropes and figuring out how to get control of the bike, I could see this being a good track to learn on, sort of in the same realm as Paletta, you know, and tracks like that. So definitely a good track. The laps are pretty long, so it's not too repetitive at all. So I would say you can honestly play this track for quite a while if you're a newer player. But obviously, if you're a little more experienced and, you know, racing on ARL tracks and stuff like that, you're probably going to be bored on this one. But definitely pretty solid, environment's pretty cool, and good job to CP417 on this one. Lexington Park SX by Acid. Again, another one of the Supercross tracks that feels pretty good and feels like it would be good if you're a newer player. But honestly, I think this one more than the one earlier in the video, the scaling is just so weird. The berms are really big, the rhythm sections are just absolutely tiny. The whoops are very small. I mean, they're basically not even whoops, they're like braking bumps. So fun track if you're new to the game, but again, I don't know, the scaling is just so weird to me. I feel like the jumps are a little big, but then the rhythm sections are tiny, so I'm not sure. Either way, it looks good and it rides pretty smooth, so nice. Paracaba SX by PG Tracks. Honestly, I think this one's a bit of a sleeper. It seems like a pretty basic track, but it flows really well. I like the sizing of everything. It's easy if you want to hit everything small, but there are some challenging lines to hit. My favorite part are these whoops. You literally don't even have to touch the sticks. You can just hit the gas and cruise right through them, which is honestly really satisfying to do. Yeah, I don't know. This track, while, I mean, obviously the environments and everything, it all looks good. There's just a lot of things that they don't throw you weird at all. They throw you natural, and it's just a fun lap, or a fun track to go and spin laps on. So yeah, definitely worth the download, I would say. .14 East Rutherford by J. Caesar 543. This one honestly is really good as well. The lines through the track are super fun to hit. There's some big rhythms, and it's honestly it's pretty dang challenging. You got to have some really good bike control to get around this track. I love the little details like the retro banners and logos, like the retro Thor logo you can see coming up. But yeah, no, it's a tough and challenging track. If you're new to the game, I would say this track is probably going to be very hard to you. You're probably not going to like it. But for the more experienced players, honestly, this track is kind of like a good happy medium between what we're used to and kind of, you know, a free Supercross track. So I think this is an awesome track, and he killed it with the retro vibe. Definitely worth the download in my opinion.
You know what?
Final free track of the week, we have Savannah Supercross by Too Nasty. Classic MX Unleashed demo Supercross track, very short, very easy. Obviously cool to spin laps on this track. I will say I wish the transitions were a little better. The landings are a little abrupt and things are just not quite as refined as I would like. But either way, it is cool to see some MX Unleashed replica tracks. And I would hope to see some more of the more detailed tracks in the future, for sure. Starting us off on the pay tracks this week is Rogue MX by Smokesta. This track is deceivingly fun. It's like pretty basic in its execution. You know, there's nothing too crazy about it, no crazy elevation changes, but it does have kind of like some cool details. The ruts are really fun, the jumps are cool to hit, the environment itself. I don't know if you guys have heard of like the Pro Challenge from like Swan MX. It kind of gives me that vibe, or like Cycle Ranch down in San Antonio. So it has a cool sort of just MX track, local MX track vibe. As I was thinking about this while I was playing it, it's almost like one of those tracks that you go to on a local practice day and you're like, oh yeah, this is my home track. And then all of a sudden they get like a Loretta Lynn's regional and you're like, oh shit, this track can also be gnarly. That's kind of the vibe that this track gives off. It's like a local regional track to where it has that skill gap, but it's also fun to just casually go spin laps around. This is only Smokesta's second paid track, at least according to the MX Bike Shop, so I definitely think it's you know, he's moving in the right direction. The details, the layout, just the vibe of the track. I mean, it's fun. So I hope he keeps it up. And yeah, honestly, I'd say it's worth the download for sure. MX Timbo by Mayron Farouj. I hope I said that right. I really don't know. This track has some big jumps to it. It's got some really cool elevation change. I'm honestly curious to see how this track rides on the new OEMs. All the ups and downs are pretty dang fun. Obviously, with MX Bikes physics, they can be a little challenging, like going up this long hill here. Sometimes your rear end wants to slide out and swap out. Sometimes it wants to really loop out on you, so it can be challenging. But overall, the layout is super fun, and it's just fun to spin laps on. It's pretty long, too. So, yeah, I mean, for $1.50, I think it's worth. There's just a lot of fun to be had on this track. A lot of, like, jumping down hills. Like, this part right here is super fun to hit. It's obviously a beautiful track. The backdrop is beautiful. I think it'd be cool for photos and edits and stuff, too. And, yeah, I think he killed it. It's a fun track. There's not much to it. It's not too rough or anything like that. It's just kind of like a casual track with some elevation that's fun to just go spin some laps on. So, nice job. And last but certainly not least, coming in for our final paid tracks of this second week of October here in MX Bikes, we got the 2024 MX Bikes of Nations Matterley Basin by JV. Now, something to keep in mind with this track is that this track was made with the intention of the best in this game racing on it. So, with that in mind, it's a pretty fun track. If you are thinking that you're pretty good at this game and you feel like you can rip around all your friends and that you're good, give this track a shot. I would say if you're looking for a track that's going to make you feel like you have no control over your bike, then this is probably the track for you. And if you're willing to take that challenge head on and kind of step your game up to the next level, then I think this is a great track to practice on. Yeah, that's what I meant. So, yeah, if that's you, then check it out. If not, then if you're not at that level yet, I probably wouldn't bother. You're just going to hate your life. But at the same time, I have not ridden this track on the new OEMs, so who knows? It could be better. I know it tracks a little bit better in the ruts with the new OEMs, so, maybe that plays to this track's strong suits. Either way, thank you guys so much. I'm going to let this play out, but thank you so much for watching. Here, another week of This Week in Tracks on MX Bikes. Looking forward to next week, and I'm curious to see what all the track building community can come up with the new OEMs. I'm curious to see kind of the downscaling. I know the tracks are going to have to be a little smaller because the bikes are a little slower. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see what everyone comes up with and excited to ride the new track. So, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.